listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the most listened to daily Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest of all.
Come on, Dolphins fans. Time to fins up.
We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
Good afternoon, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast on this Tuesday, November 5th. We're here a little earlier today because we know it's a busy day in a lot of aspects of life, but of course, as well with the NFL trade deadline, which is the only thing we're going to be talking about. That we're going to talk about the Dolphins. We're not talking about the other big event happening in this country today because you got other places to go for that. But I'm joined with Josh Moser from WSVN 7, South Florida's #1 news station. Josh, how you doing on this Tuesday morning?
Good. Just, going to get the workout in, get the mind focused on what we can control, as we like to say in sports. And
control the controllables.
We'll see what happens here.
Yeah. So we have a ton to talk about. But before we get to any of that, a quick word from our sponsor.
The DolphinsTalk.com podcast network is sponsored by Caneswear. Caneswear is the place to go for officially licensed apparel for the Miami Dolphins, Miami Heat, the Hurricanes, Florida Panthers, and all of the professional and college teams in South Florida. Looking for the latest jersey, a birthday gift, or the newest hat to hit the market of your favorite South Florida team? Check out Caneswear for their overwhelming selection of sports apparel. Located at 2655 South University Drive, Davie, Florida, Caneswear has it all. Not in South Florida? No worries. Visit Caneswear.com to shop their inventory from the comfort of your home, and they'll ship it to you. International fans, too. Caneswear.com is the spot that Miami fans shop. That's Caneswear.com. Caneswear.com.
All right, let's start off with the loss to the Bills on Sunday. I'll say this, it's a loss. They're now 2-6. It is what it is. I thought it was one of the best games Mike McDaniel has ever coached. I thought it was one of the better games we've seen from our quarterback. And the offense played well. The other side of the ball was a disaster. But, there's no moral victories anymore when you're in year 3 of a head coach's reign here. But they played better, just still not good enough to beat the Bills, which it seems like they always come up small. Or they always come up short versus the Bills, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, even just watching the Monday Night Football game last night between the Chiefs and the Bucs, it's just like whoever was going to have the ball last was going to win. And, you take that touchdown, I think, with Jaylen Waddle, which is crazy to me, Mike, first of the year, and this is week 9. You finally get Waddle a touch. A lot of positives on the offense, and I understand defensively you're losing Zach Sealer, and you don't have Javon Holland on the back end, so those are 2 upper echelon players on that defense. However, just you got to stop something in the second half. And realistically, the Bills didn't punt the ball. They were phenomenal on offense. You take away the Jaylen Ramsey amazing interception. It's a touchdown right away there to Keon Coleman. But look, we know that the Bills are one of the best teams in football. And I think the Dolphins maybe got a little bit of a reminder that they can compete when they play well. Now, there's obviously mistakes in this game, and you've got to be air-free when you're playing on the road in a team like that. To me, it's just, what are you going to play for at this point? No team 2-6 has ever made the playoffs. You've got contracts. I get it, personal pride. But there has to be something to play for bigger than just money. A lot of these guys already have money. So that's what I'm curious to see what we can figure out in the next, week or so. Today is a Monday because of the Monday Night Football for the Dolphins. They've got an extra day, so they're bringing in the players today. They'll be off tomorrow. And this is a week where you should learn a lot about this team. You look at the Rams. They just won on a walk-off touchdown on the road against the Seahawks. The Seahawks absolutely obliterated the Dolphins. I understand, they didn't have Tua. But I think this week is going to be about grit. I think we're going to find out a lot about this team. I was with Zach Sealer this past Friday night at an event, and he's closer to getting back. Just kind of a scary situation that happened with him at practice, and he should be healing up. So I would expect him to be available this next week unless there's some sort of setback. And I think that's going to be a huge lift for this team because if you can put up 27 points, you should be good enough. But again, we're Mike's coughing, so we're going to give a little more time here.
No,
my bad. I think you got to be putting up 35. I mean, you should be scoring over 30 points per game on offense. And I understand teams are going to try to, keep the ball out of your hands. It's what the Dolphins do. We've seen them run the ball. And I understand the defenses are playing them with the too high look, and you're getting Waddle covered and you're getting Tyreek covered. But, this is where I would like to see, an offense put together back-to-back games. And I think Tua is absolutely the right quarterback for this offense. He and Mike McDaniel are married. We talk about it every week. Good job this week against a pretty good Bills defense on the road. So, now go do it in LA. You won there to start week 1 last year in a great fourth quarter drive. That was one of the best we've seen Tua look in crunch time. We haven't seen a lot of those. So now go down there, replicate it. And I think you have life if you can win that, especially coming back with the Raiders here at home.
Yeah. I thought they played hard for the head coach Sunday, which is a good sign because even at 2-5, I think many folks thought, they're probably not making the playoffs. At 2-6, history says you're not going to make the playoffs. But they played hard for this head coach, I thought, and they fought right to the end, which is a good sign because you don't want to see the guys start to mail it in, so to speak, which you say what's left to play for. Now, I know the word coming from Mike McDaniel, which he kind of has to say, is we still think we got a chance. We can fix things, turn it around, and all that good stuff. And there's been some reports. Some came from your guy, Drew Rosenhaus, Sunday night, saying that the Miami Dolphins, number one, are not going to trade Calais Campbell, who there's been some reports from Diana Rossini on Saturday that they've gotten calls on that.
Yep.
Is that coming from him? Like, don't trade me. I want to stay. I just want to – because he is 38. You would have to think this might be his final year in the NFL. Is it from him, like, I just don't want to go anywhere else, leave me here? Or is it from the team saying, we still think we can run off 6 or 7 more wins, and we want him here? Like, which way is that coming from, you think?
I think it's the latter, but it's also what type of value are you going to get in exchange for Calais Campbell, who's been arguably your best defensive lineman? And I think that there is actual optimism that the duo of Sealer and Campbell on the inside is a winning formula. Those are the guys when they're healthy. We finally saw Chop Robinson emerge and get a sack. He played better against Dawkins, who's a formidable tackle in this league. But
he played really well, I thought. Really well he played.
Yeah. So I think that's a positive where you get that extra body in Sealer. They think that they have enough up front. But it really just comes back to what are you going to get in return for Campbell, and are you really ready to mortgage the season? And that goes back to the question that we don't know, which is Chris Grier safe? Because if he's not safe, you're trying to do everything you can to win so that you don't end up 3-14. So with the money invested, I think it's win now. I understand that, he's on a 1-year contract. I understand that Bradley Chubb, we don't know if he's going to be back at all. Mike McDaniel said, there's hope, but, that was very bleak. There's not enough concreteness to that. But, you need to generate some sort of pass rush. And that's why we've seen Jalen Ramsey. It's like a maniac, and you kind of need him to be your other cover corner because Fuller's been up and down. Cam Smith is looking like he's still a project, even though they took him in the second round last year. And it's just heartbreaking. You see Cam Kinchins from Miami go in the third round, and he has a game like that, looking like Ed Reed, 103-yard punt return, who you'll see next week here in Los Angeles. Excuse me, interception, not a punt return. But Calais is a piece that they really like. He's a piece that provides leadership. But what are you going to get for him? It depends what the team's offering is really the question. So, is it a 6th-round pick? To me, he's not worth a 6th-round pick. I'm keeping him for a 6th-round pick. Is it a 2nd-round pick? Absolutely. But, I don't think any team's offering a 2nd-round pick.
Not a 38-year-old player, yeah.
As we get – exactly. So, it's it's where are you going to meet in the middle? And like, is a 3rd round pick really going to help you? Sure. But, you've got 10 picks next year already. So what do you really want to do? And is Chris Grier safe? History would say he's been there for 25 years. I understand they've made the playoffs in back-to-back years, but they still haven't won a playoff game since he took over as a GM. But there's continuity. I think he has a great relationship with Mike McDaniel. You can always point to injuries. And, I think, regardless of what happens here at the deadline, I think Raheem Mostert obviously would be a name. I think Jeff Wilson's a name because he hasn't played. He's kind of their, 4th running back in case somebody gets hurt. But, we saw Devon Achane with the concussion. Now we're in the Guardian hat. Mostert's been the healthiest he's been. He's looked really good. And then Wright's had his moments. Didn't really have much this last game against the Bills. But, it's a long season, so you have 9 games. There's no more bye week. So I think Wilson's a guy for a couple $1 million that you keep. What are you going to get again? The 7th round pick? How much does that really help you? So unless it's a blockbuster deal for a guy like Javon Holland, it's really going to net you some future assets, which, personally, I know that he wants to stay. I know that he likes it here. He's the guy that you're going to have to pay. I think it's worth paying him, even though you had the weird double knee injuries last year. Then you had
he's missed a lot of games past couple of years. Missed a lot of games.
The hand, now he's got the knee. But regardless, like the market is going to dictate his value, and he's going to get paid a lot. So, I think, unfortunately, I know that they picked up his 5th-year option and Jaylen Phillips with, his unfortunate knee injury. I don't know, realistically what that looks like moving forward. You hope that he comes back. The guy's an absolute warrior. They miss him.
He's going to have to prove it next year. He's going to have to stay healthy and prove that he's back to 100% whenever he comes back, because I don't think he's going to be ready for the start of the year. Just taking a guess. He might not be back next October-ish, maybe even November, kind of like what we're seeing now with Chubb. He's going to have to prove – unless he wants to take a haircut and sign a long-term deal, which I don't see why he would, he's going to have to come back and show the team next year, hey, I'm back to 100%. Those things were fluky injuries. Pay me. Because it makes no sense to pay him now unless he wants to take a discount, which I don't see why he would.
No, I don't know if the team would offer it because they want to see how healthy he is.
Yeah,
and we go back, to last week, where we talked about how good Andrew Van Ginkel's looked, and the team, didn't make the offer because of a fear of that Lisfranc injury. Obviously, ACL is a little different. They signed Bradley Chubb to that huge long-term deal. Coming off his ACL, he unfortunately tore the other one. So, you're really talking about assets. Like, who are you going to trade? You just paid Waddle. You've got the rapport with Tua. You're not going anywhere. You're not going to get anything back for Tyreek if you trade him. And quite frankly, was the number 1 player in the league, rated by the players in the NFL to start the season. And we talk about the offense. I think this is a good point to bring up. These little things that fans may not know. The long pass that Tyreek hauled in and tiptoed on the sideline, if Tua leads him, that's a touchdown, and they win the game. So it's those little small details where you say, oh, fantasy, great, Tyreek catch 40 yards, first down. It's those small little reads. And obviously, Jordan Poyer, helmet to helmet at the end of the game. Is he a piece on a 1-year deal? What are you going to get back from him? You need a safety. You've got Marcus Mays, looks pretty good. Elijah Campbell's been solid on special teams. You do have a little bit of depth there. But
I want someone like Agba. I could see teams wanting someone like Agba. Now, if you're Miami and you think you're going to make a run, you kind of need him because you're thin there already. But I could see teams, again, it's a rental 1-year deal. What are you going to get in return? If a team offered a 5th, that'd be something I consider, but I don't know how they're thinking.
Yeah, I just think you just don't have enough on a pass rush. And remember,
that's the problem.
$15 million. Yeah, but he's also a $15 million a year player, and that nobody wanted. And then he came back for 5 on a huge discount because he wanted to stay here in Miami. And, he's another Drew Rosenhaus guy. He already has bought a place here. He's been in the organization. But, he's a former 2nd-round pick. And, he's going to get paid. And I think, he's doing enough to earn a contract again next year for more than the $5 million. So I know that the Denver up-and-coming edge went to just sign that deal. So, but you're looking for these younger players. You have the oldest roster in the NFL right now.
That's a problem. Yeah.
It's how can you get younger? But I just don't see anyone netting enough of a return to merit a trade unless, the compensation is, in favor of the Dolphins. But if you look at this schedule coming up, the back half of the year isn't as daunting as it once was, where we were concerned about the Texans. Now they're without Stephon Diggs. CJ Stroud is banged up, to say the least. The Jets look like they're an absolute disaster. The Packers look very beatable, especially with what happened there with the Lions, and we've got a groin injury here to
Cleveland's
their
a mess.
quarterback, Jordan Love.
Yep.
They're a mess. So, I mean, I think I read something. The Dolphins have the second easiest schedule remaining in the league. So, can you run the table? Can you win 9 straight?
No margin for error. That's the problem. You can't have a slip up. They literally have to pull an inside straight. There is no margin for error in any of these games because, as we saw the past 3 games, really, one versus the Colts, one play you lose. The one versus Arizona, not necessarily one play, but it was just so razor thin you can't make that one mistake. And then this week versus the Bills, that one penalty late, the Raheem Mostert fumble at the start of the second half. Like, there's no margin for error in any of these games, which makes it tough. Like, I think it would be I see fans of Dolphins, there's a big segment who we're done, the season's over, and they've kind of written it off. But if they make a run and get close and still come up short, that's like crushing the soul twice. It's like, well, now we've won 6 of 8 and we still, it's like, so I could see that happening too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I was in Green Bay and I watched Aaron Rodgers win 7 in a row to make the playoffs. They said run the table was the what they did. And there's a possibility to do it, but it's the thing that I can't figure out, Mike, and it's more of a question for Anthony Weaver and Mike McDaniel, is why are we seeing these mistakes? And why are we seeing these mistakes over and over again? Because these are correctable things. Like the Raheem Mostert fumble, look, that was a great individual effort by Johnson that punched it out. Like, that was just a great defensive play.
That's going to happen, yeah.
It's the same thing with Javon Holland saving the Week 1 win with the punch out, against the Jaguars and Etienne. So, like, that shit happens. But it's just these little things keep adding up and they keep costing you. And again, this is the 3rd year of this offense. So, we're going to need to continue to see more iterations, and you've just got to find ways to get Tyreek and Waddle the ball. I understand the coverages and why defenses are playing them the way they are. However, maneuver them around. Like,
scheme
this
them
is
open.
where you are the mastermind, and I understand, Tua's loves going over the middle. They want to do their work in between the hashes, and the defenses want to force them outside the hashes. So it's, how do you combat that? And they say combat it with the run game and combat it with Jonnu Smith. And I think he's come along really well. I think he was a really good pickup. And I'm excited to see where this offense is going. And I'm curious to see how much of a defensive change when you get Sealer back, when you get Javon Holland back, that you can actually, change. But I think something that we haven't talked about was the move to bench David Long at your middle linebacker, and you went with Anthony Walker, who played every defensive snap.
Leading tackler on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. So, look, David Long, been hurt. He was great in the beginning of the year. Captain, you love his veracity, but you could see that he just arm tackles were, not wrapping up. You can see that he's not 100%. So I think Walker did a pretty good job. But again, it's, can you put pressure on the quarterback? And you just don't have enough guys on the back end to cover. And I understand Xavier Howard's not on this team and he was making a ton of money, but man, could this team use another corner to put opposite Jalen Ramsey so that Ramsey can continue to do the Jalen Ramsey things that we've seen. And, that'd be a piece, that I would love to see Chris Grier go out and get. I don't know what the market is and who actually you can actually find that's going to impact you right away. But I'm going back to the last couple of years where, they're bringing in Melvin Ingram, they're bringing in, guys off the street, Houston. It's like I'm trying to think who's going to take a minimum to come back midseason, fresh body that may not necessarily be at the trade deadline here at 4:00 because you've got 9 games. Your bye week is gone. You're going to need some soldiers that are fresh.
More guys are going to get hurt. It's just bound to happen. Guys are going to get hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
You need to figure out how to replenish your ranks here, come November after that Green Bay game. I mean, on Thanksgiving, it's a quick Thursday night turnaround on the road. I know that Chris Grier is is trying to find things. And I mean, every team's trying to find
That was
things.
my
but-
next question, because that's what he said Sunday night with you, Mr. Rosenhaus, and he would know, Drew, was that they have been making calls to try and add pieces. Are we talking, if you even know, small pieces, or are we talking someone who would get a fan's attention, like, oh, him? Like
Both.
Okay.
Both. So the way that this kind of works, the trade deadline, with the two general managers that I'm most familiar with, that's Brian Gutekunst in Green Bay and now Chris Grier here in Miami. So you have your scouting department, your pro scouting department, and they keep an eye on guys that are playing well this year, the guys that they would have loved to have drafted. And, these guys are constantly monitored. And it's really just about finding fair compensation. And in a perfect world, you would trade someone where you have a surplus at that position, and then you could get somebody from a different position with another team that has a surplus, and you go player for player. Then it's a matter of making the money work. I mean, that would be an ideal scenario for the Dolphins right now. It's just, can you actually make that happen?
What's our surplus right now? Yeah, I mean, I don't know what a surplus. Jeff Wilson, that would be it. Yeah. Maybe Mostert. If someone wanted Mostert, then slide up him. Yeah. Running back's the only position of surplus is what you're. Yeah, I get it.
But what type of edge rusher is that going to get you? Because the running backs are paid significantly less than an edge rusher, and you can't make the money work. So that's a hang up of where you can throw in a pick, and you got to figure out the money. Yeah, but I mean, even it's River Craycraft coming back potentially. His window's been opened. Okay, Odell Beckham Jr. got a couple catches. I don't think he's got a trade value. He's got all of the money and bonuses, so he's really not making that much. But, what have you seen from him? I mean, Duke Riley was a guy that played a lot of snaps. He's essentially a special teamer now. So it's the movable pieces are your guys at the bottom of the roster, then they're not enough to make an impact. It's more of, can you fix the mistakes that you're constantly making, and can your stars actually be stars? And the guys that you're actually paying the money to, can they perform? Because last year, everyone outperformed. Alec Ingold outperformed. Raheem Mostert had a career year. Tyreek Hill, career year. And Tua, career year. So I still think, Mike, it's that the defensive coordinators have figured out Mike McDaniel's scheme, and they've played it differently. And it's not to say that you can't have success, but I don't mind this dink and dive, 5-yard pass, shovel passes. I love the creativity, because that's what the defense is giving you. And if you can create this yard after catch,
so take it.
Take it. I mean, again, you only have to get 3 yards per play. You use your 4 downs, you got a first down. So my concern is, a situation where you've got, you think 2-minute drill where you're playing from behind. I mean, the biggest thing for me is you've had second half leads in all 3 of these losses in this 3-game losing streak, and you have let them slip away. So, it's put up or shut up, basically. Like, I almost feel like Grier is like, on paper, we built this right. Okay, we gave Tua the money. We gave up the salary for a good backup quarterback. That was the risk that we took. My bad. We lost 3 games, but there should be enough to still get you, 9 wins, even with those 3 games we've essentially forfeited. So, it's interesting. But can one of these rookies flash? I think the offensive line is much, I don't know what the right word is. It's just
we want to
pick it apart.
Yeah, I mean, but it's still not great.
I think it's a ruse because you're getting the ball out so fast.
Well, that's the problem.
How they've built it.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, like, Aaron Brewer's stats are through the roof. But, I mean, here we go. We're back a game. A couple snaps don't go over, go right. They win that ball game. So it's crazy to me. I think the pre-snap penalties looked a little better. I think Austin Jackson's held up fine. Teron Armstead, when healthy, has been, playing at a Pro Bowl level again. And you're getting decent play on the inside. So, it's just more of like the pieces are there. You just got to figure out how to execute it. So now the question becomes, why aren't you executing it? And the question that I want to ask is you're sticking with Mike McDaniel. He's your head coach. Mike McDaniel's the perfect head coach for Tua. However, is Mike McDaniel the right head coach to motivate and to coach everyone else? And that's the question that I have. And I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, right now,
And
I agree that's the question. And right now, if we had to say an answer, it's probably no, because it's a results-oriented league and the results just aren't there. But that doesn't mean it's no forever. It's just no right now. And that's why the second half of the year, to me, look, if they can make a run, sneak into the playoffs, great. Who wouldn't love that? Great. To me, it's more about what are we going to see from this guy, how he gets this team ready each week with veterans who might at some point mentally check out a little bit, and with young players who are just starting their time in the NFL, looking to make a name for himself. How do those players respond to him? And if they continue to play hard week to week? Look, you follow this league long enough, I have too. We've seen teams, end of the year, Thanksgiving on, they're out of it. They don't play hard all the time. If they play hard for him the rest of the way, that's a good sign for him that he hasn't lost the room, that they're playing hard for him. If they don't, there's a larger conversation to be had there about A, the people in the room, and B, him.
And I think this is the lost value of a Calais Campbell when you talk about him in a trade. He's a player that you need in the locker room to help motivate these younger players. This is, his shoot. If he plays at this rate, I think he's playing another season. He's going to play until he's 40, which is wild to me.
It's nuts.
Just turned 38 in September. But I mean, you want to talk about a leader, it's him. And I know that Tyreek Hill is beyond frustrated as much as he's saying what he needs to say. But I mean, he is not happy. And Jaylen Waddle saying all the right things. You can tell he ain't happy. And you're mistaken if you don't think that stats matter, especially to offensive players. And I'm very curious. To me, you should go to LA and you should beat this team, even though the Rams have been hot. I understand Puka Nacua threw a punch and didn't play.
The week before he was sensational.
Yeah. Right. But you've got Cooper Kupp back healthy. Kyron Williams has looked like an absolute stud in that backfield. They've got Blake Corum behind him. They have pieces. Robinson, with a great one-handed catch to win it. So, to me, you go to LA and you get a win. And then you come back here and you beat the Raiders, which you should. And now all of a sudden you're 4-6. And I think at that point you can see something churning. And then all of a sudden, if you lose in LA, then it's, and mentally, are you going to go? And I think that is going to be the focus of this week. I know that's exactly what the coaches are saying. And, I want to see what happens, because you should be good enough to go to LA and win that game. And you've won there before. You won there as early as last year to start the season. So, this is kind of it. But I'm curious to see what happens here at the trade deadline. I personally don't see any moves happening. I hope
I said that this morning. I think they should. To me, I know the value is if we trade a guy, what are we really getting back? A 6th or 7th? Well, I'll take the 6th or 7th, because most likely that guy we're trading ain't going to be here next year anyways, most times. Or trade for picks in 2026. Say, look, we already have 10 picks next year. Let's start to build up the war chest for 2026. Let's think ahead. But once again, if you have a general manager who's not maybe safe in his job, he ain't thinking about 2026. He's thinking about today, tomorrow, and next week. So I understand all that. I don't think they're going to – if they make any move, it's going to be one move, and it's probably going to be small. I don't see any big move happening today by any means. You mentioned the Raiders. In the time we have been on the air, it was announced the Raiders have brought back Norv Turner. Yes, Norv Turner as an offensive assistant to help with the play calling.
So okay. That's fine. Calling. Antonio Pierce,
he needs all the help he can get out there right now.
He's a great player coach. I'm close with Devontae Adams. Obviously, the offense was a mess. It just didn't work with Josh McDaniels. Antonio Pierce was the right guy to motivate the team, but he just isn't that offensive guru. It's kind of the opposite of what the Dolphins have. Here's a guy that everyone wants to play for him, but he just doesn't have the toolbox that Mike McDaniel does offensively. And then what are you going to do at quarterback? Aiden, O'Connell's been hurt. Gardner Minshew wasn't the guy. So they have their own whole set of problems in a division outside of the Chiefs where you're pretty wide open with the Chargers and the Broncos. So you should be doing some damage. And I think just the litany of bad picks, just with the unfortunate circumstances of those high picks, with what took place in the last 5 years, has killed that team.
Like Mayock.
Yeah. But it's just like, I'm sick of talking about the Dolphins. Like, I want them to actually do something.
Look, Monday night,
that's where we're at.
The Rams Monday night, I think this game's going to be a shootout because I think both of these teams can score. If we played the Rams last month when they didn't have each of the wide receivers, one was out injured, one was just starting to come back a little bit, they're healthy now. They're whole. They're coming off a big win on the road. Matthew Stafford probably going to the Hall of Fame someday. He can throw it, and it's going to come down to Anthony Weaver and that side of the ball. If he gets back a few pieces, that's going to help. But overall, they're going to have to play a lot better on that side of the ball to win. And if they don't, then it's up to the offense. Yeah, 27 should be enough to win most weeks. But when you look at the other side of the ball, we might have to score 30, 34, 41 to win a game. And they might have to do that this week for some Rams team who can score points. And you're weak on one side of the ball. They might have to go in there and outscore them because I think the Rams are going to get theirs. I think the Rams are going to get their points. So it's up to the offense to keep up and score more, I think.
Yeah, I think I want to see 33 points. I think that's where you need to be. You're hoping for a 3-touchdown day and a bunch of field goals. I would love a 4-touchdown day. And, we'll see. I like this run game. I think, unfortunately, as the fans don't want to see it, but I like these sustained 7-minute, 8-minute drives that are just.
And when you're weak on defense, that helps out your defense too because it keeps them on the sideline, essentially.
Exactly. And I know it's not the flashy play that everybody wants to see in today's NFL. However, if you limit the mistakes and you can control the clock, time of possession normally dictates winning. The statistics to that are very profound. It's measured. It's there. But, this is your game. I mean, I know the last week was like, if we lose this game, it's the season. No, like this game, if you lose this game, it's just going to be like, gosh. And then to come home and lay an egg against the Raiders, I don't think anybody's going to go to games. I mean, you'd be lucky to drop 30,000.
That's the thing they're looking at now is, from the financial standpoint of things, if they're out of it the second week in November, yes, they're making money. I understand. But fans aren't going to go. You're right. Fans aren't going to go. They're just not going to go.
No, but I mean, you remember back, I forget what it was. I want to say it was the Virginia Tech Friday night Miami game ahead of the Monday night game against Tennessee. The tickets were cheaper to the Dolphins game than the Canes football game on Friday night. And that just should never happen. Like $20 to get in. So
But you look at the home slate from now to the end of the year. The home slate, you really only got 2 good home games. The Jets game, you're going to get a lot of fans from up north who already live in Florida. They're going to be in town for the winter. Jets game will be packed house. San Francisco game looked like the marquee home game of the year. Honestly, that's holiday weekend-ish, like the 22nd, I think it is. So I'm sure you have a lot of people that weekend. Outside of that, Raiders, Patriots, you're not going to have a lot of fans in the house if they lose this one. Which I get, and fans are frustrated. It's been 20-something years since they won a playoff game, 24 years, whatever it's been. Fans are frustrated, and fans have every right to be frustrated. It's not like, if we, went 5 or 6 years or even 8 years, okay, it's been a while. This is over 2 decades. I get why fans are frustrated. And to me, the fans who aren't upset, at least a little bit, I don't even get those types of fans. It's like at some point, you got to ask the organization, you got to give me something. I'm not even asking for a Super Bowl at this point. Can you win like the AFC East ones? Can you win a playoff game? Show me that we're going in the right way. And so fans who are upset and might not go to some of these home games, I understand. Like, I totally understand their line of thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's when are we actually going to see something? And I know that the players feel it. And, they can talk about blocking out the outside noise all they want.
None of them block out the outside noise. They're all on social media throwing their little jabs. Even the quarterback who says, I don't care about nothing, he's throwing darts at the fans last week about the chips on your couch. They all are on social media. They all know what's being said. Any player who stands up there and says, I block it out, I don't pay attention, is lying through their teeth.
Yeah, so this is it. I want to see a big game from Jordan Poyer. He would be the one player that I'm personally saying, I need to see something from you. He's got to be a piece that plays better. He could have gotten more money elsewhere, and he took the veteran minimum to come here. He's got a house here. He's got his wife here. His little kids here. He wanted to be here, and you go and essentially make a play that hurt. I will say it didn't lose him the game, but it put him in a position to lose the game against your old team. If you don't take that personally and come out this week and put together something, that's going to be a huge letdown for me. He would be a guy that I would really pay attention to this week, and then I'd be curious to see what they do with that middle linebacker position with David Long and Walker. But can you put pressure on Matthew Stafford? You put him on the ground, it's going to be different. So we'll see. I just fast forward me to Monday, prime time. If you don't get up for this game, it's time to do something else.
Yep. All right, Josh, thanks so much for a few moments today. Everyone, be sure to watch Josh on WSVN 7, South Florida's #1 news station, and also follow him on Twitter, Instagram, and everywhere else at The Mose Knows. The Mose Knows. Everyone, thank you for listening. We'll talk to you again after a while. What else? Oh, go to the website, DolphinsTalk.com. I forgot to plug the website. Go to the website,
Absolutely.
DolphinsTalk.com. Everyone, have a great day, and we'll talk to you again after a while.
Go vote.